welcome live to the Stunt Hangar program. And today on Hangar Live, we're going to be talking to Chris Rudd. Now, Chris Rudd sent me an envelope of pictures of his new airplane. And I got to tell you, it's really nice. Let me look and see what the name of it is here. It is called... See, Rudd. It is called Emma June 2. And by the looks of this airplane, it looks like it's been rebuilt or a new one built. He had one that was red, black, and white. This one's done in the military scheme. It's a Typhoon. It's really a nice airplane. And we're going to talk to Chris about his airplane, and we're going to talk to him about his modeling career. Now, I met Chris when he was probably 14 years old at SIG. So I've known him probably around 20 years, I guess. And he's our Pampa webmaster, and he is in the media production section, and quite talented. So without further ado, let's get on. Chris Rudd at Hangar News. And if you'd like to join Hangar News, there's two ways to do that. Either IM me your phone number and we'll get you in the chat, or you can click the links if you have Google Hangout. So I'd like to give Chris a big welcome. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing fantastic. It's been a great day.
That's great. I hear you got a lot of flights in this year.
Yeah, I'm practicing as much as I possibly can. Just really enjoying it, and I think I'm somewhere north of 100 flights. I think it's 108, and it's the first week in April. So I've never felt as prepared as I feel now.
Well, that's good. You should be a real killer at the Nats this year. I'd like to talk a little bit about when I first met you at SIG. Go ahead. What year was that?
My first year at SIG, I think, was in 2002, and I'll never forget. I was probably in junior high at the time. I just had finished my first plane that wasn't a half A, and it was a Brodak Pathfinder with an LA-40 on it. And I remember putting it in the back of the car and driving on 88 with my dad in our Yukon. And we got to, we just turned off of, I think it was probably, whatever it is, 80 or 88, probably 88, right?
I think so.
I got off and we went south. And I remember driving up and down those hills. And I still remember it to this day. We went over the hill, and you know how the road parallels the runway, and there was 6 planes flying at once. And it was the sunset, and I was coming over the hills, and it was like, I literally said to my dad as a junior higher, is this what heaven's like? Because I was so happy to actually be at a real airplane contest.
Right. Did Hazel happen to give you a ride in her Skywalker?
I don't think so. No, I mean, honestly, my only memory is I flew beginner, and I could fly everything in the full pattern except for the clover. And I flew, and Cinna actually won the contest in beginner. And then afterwards, I went and I decided, okay, I'm going to try to do the clover. I did the first loop, and then I did the second loop, the third loop, and on the fourth loop, I was way too low, and I stuck it straight up and down. The wings just peeled off, and the tail and the whole fuselage stayed together, and it just stuck straight up. And that was kind of like, it was the end.
I think every one of us has had those experiences where you've hit the ground. There's just no way around it.
Yeah.
When I had first talked to you today, you said that you were on the phone with Billy. What's he got going on?
Oh, he's coming into full season with his business. So he's, turning full steam ahead on that. I know he's been building a little bit. But mostly he and I decided this year to kit his P-47. We're doing a pretty specialized kit with, all the bells and whistles. I'm hand weighing all the wood, and, Billy doesn't have much computer skills, so I've been working with Pat King, and we've been drawing it up in CAD, and I can have Eric Rule do some of the, laser cutting, and getting this to be a super, super well-made kit with the mold all, already done. And we're trying to make something that's as close to being an ARC as possible, but still making it builder of the model legal. With the new rules, we're going to build the wing halves, not join them, so that they can still put the crank in, so they can still make it, build the model legal, and then provide them all the parts for the fuselage with just pure molds, without the formers in it.
Right. Did you happen to tell him Did you happen to tell him that you conned me into building the prototype?
No, we just, we were talking about other things, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be, I'll meet with him later in the month, and, I'll present to him what I'm thinking for marketing, and having you do it is, both a perfect thing because I know you can build it because you built 3 of them, and I know a lot of people are going to watch Controlling Craftsman, and get a really good picture on how to build it. So I think it's a great partnership for everybody.
Well, I hope so. Control Line Craftsman's been kind of tough because I've been waiting on Bob Kruger to get the RD1 plans done, and as soon as that's up and running, we're going to do that build, and I hope to have that airplane ready for the Nats because I want to give it to the beginner or junior winner at the Nats.
That'd be great.
It was donated a motor by one of the forum members. I'll donate the wood and the time. So all I need now is the plans, and we'll get that going on Control Line Craftsman.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be 2 great projects to watch.
Right. Let's talk about your new airplane. It was quite a looker.
Oh, thanks. I spent a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody spends a lot of time on their planes, and I love building. I try to build about 2 to 3 hours a night, whether that's, finishing or building or prepping for the next day of flying. At 9:30, my wife goes to sleep, and I sneak away and, work. But for whatever reason, this plane just seemed like it was a plane that took a century. I felt like I was in this time warp of just never stopping sanding.
Well, I haven't got a hands-on look at it yet, but from the pictures, it looks like you didn't miss too many spots. I don't know, but it looks real good.
Yeah.
I'm going to be posting pictures of that, and it was kind of a family build for you, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's named after my first and only daughter, Emma. Her name's Emma June, and it just became fitting. Bob Hunt, is a big, advocate or a big helper to me. Him and Billy both have been extremely helpful in every aspect of this. And he offered to do this, the profile of the plane. He said it's one of his favorite things to do. And I told him, I said, as long as it looks like a Typhoon, I'd love to see what you come up with. And I remember vividly walking to a cafe and looking at it on my little phone and being like, this is perfect. And, I needed a name for it. And so what do? You name it after either the girl you're dating or you name it after your kid, I guess.
Yeah.
And so, that's why I named it Emma June. But, it was one of those projects where I had 2 weeks off for, a lot of people don't do this or haven't done this, but, I'm lucky and I have a lot of flexibility at work. So I took 2 weeks off when Emma was born, and my wife was tired, so I would take her and put her in this little sling, and we built the first Emma June together in about a month, for construction or through the building process. But once we started finishing, she couldn't hang out with me anymore. But it was a really fun experience, to be able to do this. And I built her a little control line handle. And she still plays with that. She actually sucks on it like more than any other toy. And she has a chunk of 1/2-inch, contest grade balsa that she just loves to play with. I don't know if it's just because it's big and light and she can really whack stuff with it or what, but she loves it.
That's really great. I like those pictures that you sent of that, and I see you got your wife involved in cutting some of the parts as well, and that's always helpful.
Yeah. She says it's her de-stressor.
Yeah, de-stressor.
And she's cut 3 wings now for me, and I can't build fast enough.
Well, I saw that you had.
If you know of anybody,
I saw that you had 2 of those airplanes. You had a red, black, and white one, and then of course your military Typhoon. What happened to the red, black, and white one?
Oh, I made 3 critical errors that, independent of each other, one of them made a hill of beans different, but the 3 errors all, made one stress point about 6 inches off of the fuselage, and the outside wing folded on its first flight after 6 minutes. So that was pretty heartbreaking.
I bet you were trying the turbulators on it, and that's what did it.
No, there's no vortex generators. But I will tell you, I'm going to try them.
Well, I saw your experiments with the camera and the little pieces of toilet paper and strings and all that stuff. I don't think it makes a hill of beans, but heck, what do I know? Yeah,
well, I don't knock anything until I've really tried it. So, I'm always, I like to try stuff, but if it doesn't work for me, I give up on it. But I try to give everything, 50 flights before I make a decision. So I got some vortex generators, and I just bought an electric setup. And so I'm going to build a plane around that and, do some testing with it to see if I like it.
Yeah, well, at least give it a try. I mean, I did.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who like it and a lot of people who don't like it. So, I just want to know what I personally think. So.
Right. Well, is there anything you'd like to interject? And first, before we go any farther, I'd like to thank you for the help on getting this setup going, where Chris has been instrumental in getting our board set up, because I couldn't figure it out. I've spent about 2 hours doing it, and seeing that Chris is in the media, he figured it out, and I was impressed. It took about 10 minutes, and boom, it was working. Of course, we did have some trouble.
Yeah, well, we got it figured out, and I'm really excited about that. I mean, I think I learned. I'd like to talk a little bit about what I learned, in the last, 3 months, or not. Sorry, this last year. Great. It's been like a whirlwind for me. I left. I didn't realize I left the hobby, but looking back, it's been 8 years since I was back in the hobby, and pretty much I landed in, after the team trials, after the Worlds in Spain, and I went to college the next week. And, life got in the way, I did all that stuff, grew up, and, this last year, I don't know what it was, but I just happened to go fly one March day, and I just got hooked again. And so this, the last couple months have really been just a time for me to learn. And, I didn't know how dedicated I wanted to be to the hobby or where I wanted to be. I just knew that I wanted to, just enjoy it. But I went, to the Nats with one goal. And my goal was to find somebody who could coach me. Because I knew I needed a coach. I knew A, I've been out of the hobby for so long. And B, I just, knew there was so much more to learn than, I knew. So, I got to Muncie, and I opened up my car, I grabbed my plane, and I walked up to the L-pad, and the first people in the closest circle was Bob Hunt and Billy Werwage. And I said, well, if I'm going to start anywhere finding a mentor, I should at least start at the top. So I went over, and I just started flying with them. And after, a couple flights, Billy decided to launch my airplane. And I said, right before I, turned the engine over, I said, hey, Billy, will you watch my flight and give me, pointers? And he said, I won't watch one flight, but I'll watch 3, and I'll tell you what your mistakes really are. And I said, okay, absolutely, sounds great. And he watched my flights, and he gave me some pointers, and then, we ended for the night. That next morning, Bob and Billy came up to me, and they told me I was adopted, and that anything I ever needed, they were going to help me. And they have just poured into me and just really helped me a ton. One of the biggest helps was Bob Hunt sent me almost 400 photos of him just building and all these little tricks and stuff. And there were so many neat little things about you know, how to build a straight airplane with some, you know, alignment stuff he, you know, has you know, developed, and, you know, the lost foam system, and he's just been a huge help. And, you know, there's a lot of things I learned. I learned that weighing balsa was important. You know, that's something I never did. I always fought contest balsa, right? You know, you trust the people, but I mean, I ordered, you know, $50 worth of 3/16 balsa, but that's 48-inch long from SIG, because I can't get that from Control Line or from Stunt Hangar Hobby. And so I ordered the stuff from SIG, and they told me it was 4 to 6 pounds, and I weighed it all, and I built a calculator, and it was like 7-pound balsa, an 8-pound balsa. And so I later called them and said, hey, this isn't what I ordered, and I told them what grams I wanted it to be with, and they sent me new stuff, and that stuff's fantastic now. But, you know, I built a dedicated table to hold my balsa. It's all sorted. Anytime stuff comes in, I weigh it and I categorize what it is, so that when I'm building, I'm actually, you know, making wise decisions on wood selection. And the first Imagune that you guys saw came in at 62 ounces, and the last one came in at 58 ounces. And I spent a crap load of time on it, on the finish, and I'd put 14 different trim colors on it, which is, you know, a lot, but for a military plane, it's not that much, but it took me forever. And the saving grace about halfway through it, you know, I learned, and, you know, I saw this is, I love DC 540. I will never use another primer again.
It's the greatest, that's for sure.
And it saved me. I mean, I had literally put, I was using Aerofill, which works really great from Randy. Like, I really thought it filled a lot, but it just never completely filled everything. And I put one coat of DC 540, sanded it all off, so it was just filling the grain. And the stuff dries in 6 minutes to sand it. I couldn't believe it. And so, you know, I went and I ordered 6 more cans and just got it from Napa. But, you know, if there's anything that I would say, you know, just to give it a try, would be DC 540. You know, I just, you know, the other thing is Bob Hunt showed me how to mold balsa, and that has been a huge, you know, it takes a little bit more time to set up the mold, but it really has been a very, very helpful thing to build a light airplane, a really strong airplane. So I just, you know, I think Bob Hunt will send anybody that PDF of his True Fit fuselage construction, and it's, you know, it's a really, really good way to build a fuselage, and it's the same way that me and Billy are kitting his P-47.
Right, and if you watch some of my videos on YouTube or Control Line Craftsman, I show how to mold. I mean, I don't go a whole lot in big depths, but one of the things you can do is you can order from Robin's View Productions his compound molding techniques, and that's how I learned how to do it. And it's a real good video. Yeah, yeah. And Billy's got a nice I-beam video that I just watched too. You can get that from Bob as well, from Robin's View. I got that as well.
The other thing, go ahead.
I have that as well. I have everything that Bob produced.
That's a good thing to have for sure. You know, the other thing I've been learning is, you know, access to information is everything. And, you know, when I was a kid, you know, the only source of knowledge I really had, because there wasn't really a super well developed forum at that point, you know, for discussion at that point. And so all I had was Wendy's videos. And man, I watched Wendy, you know, was nice enough. I was a junior. He donated almost all his videos to me. So I learned a ton from that. You know, and luckily I'm the Pampa webmaster, and sometimes that's great, and sometimes that's not. But I helped Al Rabe with a problem on his login, and he sent me a DVD of, you know, a bunch of videos of his and a bunch of PDFs, and I just scrolled through them, and I found so many great building ideas. So many great finishing.
I noticed on your Imagune you did Al Rabe's technique of the wheel gear doors. Did you learn that from Al's tapes or not?
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, that's exactly what I want. I was trying to figure out what to do there. And it just, you know, I was going to finish that the next day, and, you know, his PDF showed up. And I was like, oh, that's exactly what I'm going to do. You know, and, you know, the other thing is I've been really playing with engines a lot. I'm not an engine guru at all like Brett Buck or anybody, but, you know, I can tell when I got something that I like. And so I've been flying, you know, a PA and a Roadjet now. Just, you know, I switch, you know, every 25 flights, I switch motors and pipes and stuff. And I've just been playing with it luckily, a lot of my club members have extra pipes that they're not using, so I've just been experimenting, really not hoping I'm going to improve anything, but just understanding the characteristics of each thing. Different types of pipes, different types of props. So this is really just a year focused on learning for me.
Well, if you want to know about propellers, I would say Billy's probably the one to learn about propellers with.
Yeah, he's going to send me some different types of props he's been working on, so I'm going to experiment with those for sure.
Jerry Phelps made me the last 2 propellers that he made that were the Billy props, and boy, they're great. And then everybody's been trying to get them from me, and they ain't for sale. You can't replace them.
Yeah, you better keep those.
They're a little small for 75, but for 61, 65, they're a great prop. I might even try it on my Super Tiger. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're kind of running short here. You know that we only got 29 minutes and a few, so is there anything you want to say in the next 3-4 minutes?
No, I'm good. I just want to thank you for everything that you're trying to do here with Hangar News and with the forum. I just think it's a great thing. I think anything that benefits the hobby is a great thing.
Well, I'm trying to bring us into the 21st century. The days of Windy and his Rapidiograph paper on stenograph, or whatever you call that stuff from school, that's kind of long gone. So I figured that I'd kind of update things. Now, Leonard had a great board, but I want to bring it a little closer to to the media, and maybe we can get these younger guys interested, because they're all tech savvy and they want to push buttons and play with computers or whatever. And I'm old and I can't figure out how to do this stuff, and that's why I call you and ask you these questions.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to help.
All right, Chris, want to thank you for being here, and I'll have you back on the air. So, all right, you have a good one.
You too. Bye, Sparky.
Bye now. Well, that's it for Hangar Live. And if you'd like to participate in Hangar Live, all you have to do is send me a private message. I'll get you on the phone. We can even do a video chat. It's entirely up to you. And until the next time, tight line.